Hello friends, welcome to the second lecture of the subject business communication. I believe most of you have already uh, viewed my first lecture that was on nature of business communication. So today we will be doing the lecture on the objectives of business communication. Now coming down to the objectives of business communication, the main objectives of business communication or the main objective of communication are discussed, may be summarized as under. The first objective of the communication is the exchange of information. Now, if we talk about exchange of information, what is exchange of information? The most important purpose of communication is the exchange of information with others, right? Now, for example, in a business organization, the management use communication to keep the employees informed about the goals, policies, and rules. Now, when the employees are well informed about the various aspects of the job, they would perform the job better. Meetings, telephones, notices, employee handbooks and bulletins are used to convey necessary information to the employees who are working in that particular organization. Similarly, an organization communicates with outsiders also, like investors, customers, suppliers, government, public, etc. Now, the second objective is issue of orders and instructions. Now, another purpose of communication is to issue the orders and instructions to the employees. Now, there are two things, orders and instructions. An order is a direction to do something and an instruction indicates how to carry out the order. Now, orders and instructions are based on the superior's authority and the subordinates are expected to obey those orders and instructions as provided to them. An order or instruction is enforceable because the superior has got the power to use sanctions against the subordinates who refuses to carry out the order or do so in an appropriate manner. In order to be effective, an order should possess the following features. An order can only be effective if these features are present in an order. Otherwise, it will be an ineffective order. Now, the order should be stated in an unambiguous and clear-cut words to be easily understood by the subordinates. Now, the second point, the order could be accomplished within the authorities given to the subordinates. The order should be reasonable and subordinates should be having the capability to execute that order. Third, the order should be in written form, particularly if it is of a non-routine nature. Generally, the orders and instructions which are issued to the subordinates orally, but in certain cases, sometimes it becomes essential to issue the written orders to the subordinates so that there may exist no confusion at all. Now, the third objective of communication is education. Business firms frequently use effective methods of communication to educate the workers and consumers. They train and direct their employees for greater productivity and educate consumers about the quality and uses of products. Good communication helps in molding the employee's behavior favorably. It will lead to better industrial relations and goes a long way towards accepting and generating new ideas. It will also reduce workers' resistance to change. Communication is also used for the purpose of education of consumers and general public. Consumers are made aware of the availability of products, their price range, quality, usage, etc. by inserting advertising in newspapers, magazines, etc. Fourth objective is advice and counseling. The managers often give advice to their colleagues and subordinates on both personal and official matters from time to time as and when it is required. Advice involves personal opinion of the advisor and so may be subjective, biased, whereas information is factual and is always objective, that is, without any bias. The purpose of offering advice is to influence the behavior of the other party. It is generally offered in a face to face contact. Besides giving advice to the subordinates, the managers also provide them counseling when they are in difficulties or under stress. For example, an employee is having some family problem and is not able to do his job properly. In such a situation, psychological counseling can help a lot in modifying the behavior of the employee under stress and in overcoming his problems. Now, coming down to fifth objective of communication, it is persuasion. Communication is aimed at persuading others for a favorable response. Persuasion means making efforts to change or influence the behavior and attitude of others. A great deal of communication in a workspace is persuasive. Take any example from marketing or finance. The people in the organization are always engaged in persuading one another in the context of organizational goals. When employees have to be convinced of the need for greater efforts, when goods have to be sold despite of competition, when dues have to be collected from an unwilling customer, all these situations call for persuasive efforts. Now, sixth objective of communication is suggestion. Suggestions is supposed to be a very mild or subtle form of communication. It may move both ways, downwards and upwards. Downward suggestions enjoys one's great advantage over other means of communication like advice or order. Advice comes from an expert, order comes from a higher authority. Advice comes from an expert, orders come from an higher authority. In either case, the recipient is slightly conscious of his inferiority and may resent it. Accepting a suggestion is on his discretion, so a suggestion is usually welcome. Suggestions from an employee or employees to the management, that is, upwards, are also encouraged in modern organization. Under an organized suggestion system, suggestions boxes are placed at some convenience location in the office or the factory. Workers are encouraged to drop their suggestions in these suggestion boxes. Sometimes these suggestions have to be written on specially prepared cards. If an employee does not want to reveal his name, he is allowed to do that. The suggestion boxes are opened at regular intervals. The suggestions received are scrutinized properly and the employees offering the best suggestions are awarded with prizes. Seventh, motivation. The seventh important objective of communication is motivation. Motivation is the process of inducing people to work hard for achieving organizational goals. Communication is a very effective means of motivation of people by recognizing their talents and achievements and sharing ideas with them. The content, tone, and timing of communication exercises significant influence on motivation. Face-to-face talks and company magazines are often used to create a sense of mutual understanding. Suggestion schemes, joint consultations, praise for outstanding efforts, etc. also help to improve motivation. Eighth, raising morale. Morale reflects the attitudes of the employees towards the organizational policies and management. Good communication is intended to mold the attitudes of the employees and raise their morale by creating an atmosphere of openness and mutual trust. Communication about the policies and programs of the organization help the organization to improve the morale of the employees. Notices, bulletins, and meetings are used to prevent rumors and remove fear from the mind of the employees. Upward communication in the form of suggestions and grievances is also used to raise morale of the employees. In fact, free flow of communication helps to release emotional outbursts and provide a feeling of reassurance to the staff. Ninth, warning. Warning involves informing the employees about the unpleasant and unfavorable consequences if certain employee is involved in some undesired activity in which he should not. Such course of actions may be negligence, mishandling materials and machinery, misbehaving with others, etc. The purpose of warning is to ask the employees to abide by the rules and regulations and work with dedication and discipline in the organization. Warning can be general or particular. General warnings are not directly to any particular persons or group. Warnings like no smoking, outsiders are not allowed, no admission without permission are general warnings. Particular warnings are issued against particular persons to make them follow the rules and regulations. Now, friends, this is all about objectives of communication. In the next lecture, we will be discussing about the need for communication. Till then, work hard, study, study, and study. Thank you very much.